Hello, me again. So I'm going to show you today. Basically I made these yesterday on the wheel, which are little mini moon jars, but the bottom needs trimming, as you can see, just to round it off nicely and get that nice shape. So that's what I'm going to do today, is trim them, and there'll be something like this one. Hope you can see that. So I'll quickly show you how to do that. It shouldn't take. Trimming your pots, there's quite a few different tools that you can use, but the basic ones are loop tools. So they're like these ones, and there's different sizes. So I've got my little one there as well if I'm putting small feet on the bottom. You can also use your trimming tools that you used on the wheel for your pots. So this one's just like a triangle trimming tool, but these are a little bit more difficult to use because of the sharp point. If you get it at the wrong angle, it'll just rip into your pot and take it off the side of the wheel. I also sometimes use a needle tool just to figure out where my foot ring is going to go. So that's basically the tools. I'm just going to make sure my bat is a little bit damp. I don't want it wet, I just want a little bit damp, and then that helps the pot to stick better. So I've got this pot here that I need to trim. So basically pop it down. There's a few ways of doing this as well. It depends what shape pot you've got, but sometimes you can tap centre it, but this is the way I'm going to do it today, is just hold out one finger, and where the pot hits my finger, stop the wheel, push it away from yourself. It's only a tiny little bit, so it only needs a little bit done. And basically I'm just recentering the pot. So when I trim it, it's going to be an even trim all the way around, so that feels pretty alright there. So I can stop the wheel and then get some lumps of clay. So just 3 random little balls, roll it into a fat sausage, put it at the side there without knocking your pot down. Just double check that that's still okay. And squish it down onto the wheel head there, move it round. You want 3 of these evenly spaced. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing down on the top of the pot, and that stops it from being pushed away as I'm getting this clay squidged onto the board there. So that's still nice and centered, and that's ready to use. I want the foot ring, well, it's technically not a foot ring, but I want the foot to be a little bit smaller than the width of the neck on the pot. So I'm going to use my needle tool, and I want to make it about that wide. So once I've put that on, I know that I can trim this bit away, and that's the thick bit that I couldn't get into with my trimming tool earlier on, and I'm going to leave this bit here. So I'm going to start with the bigger trimming tool. Make sure it's clean first, because if there's any dried bits of clay in, sometimes that ends up putting more lines on your work that you don't want. Hold it in the centre with my finger, and I'm pushing down gently. That sort of helps to keep it in place. I've also got this thumb is attached to the trimming tool, so basically that steadies both my hands. My arms are tucked in, you can't see, but my elbows are tucked into my side, and I'm just going to start taking away that clay. So this is pretty much the perfect time to trim your pot, is when it's at this stage. So it's kind of leather hard, it's on a tiny bit on the soft side, but it's fine, we'll just be gentle with it. So if it is softer, you just need to go a bit easier on it. So I'm going to trim up to that line, and then take a bit more of that thickness off. Use the tool different ways round, whatever you feel comfortable with, it's all good. So sometimes as well, if I've got lots of pots to trim, So like the tableware orders that we get sometimes, if we've got like 50 odd pots to do, I'll throw like a sort of a tall bowl shape to put these in, like a big donut, and that'll just sit in there, and it'll save us having to do all this and centre it every time. But this way is nice if you've just got one pot. So I'm just taking the thick off. I'm trying to keep that nice shape that I made with the trimming tool. And what you can do is you can kind of hold that up against the side as well and see if you've got the right sort of shape still. So that looks pretty alright. So what I've just done there is caught it on that, so make sure that you hold it up a little bit. And that'll also take, if it's the right sort of wetness, that'll take a little bit of the clay off as well and compress it at the same time. So you can do that if you want to. There's lots of different ways to trim pots. So what I should do is try and show you different ways every time I do a new video. But as you can see, that smoothed it off a little bit and it's burnished it a tiny bit. You can also smooth just with your finger, just by doing that. You can use anything that's like shiny, either plastic or horn or metal. So the end of this is really good for burnishing. This is made out of, not sure, antler, I think. So Marv made this one. So we might be selling things like this in the future as well. But yeah, so that smooths it really well. What you can do as well is undo a couple of these, take it off and have a look at the shape. Do you think it's about the right shape yet? If not, whack it back on, do a bit more with it. So at the minute, I can see here needs taken off, and just round it off a tiny little bit, because there's a bit of a ridge there. So that needs taken off, and I just need to refine this a tiny little bit more. So that's my next job. So I've just took a tiny bit more off, and that looks a lot better. I don't know whether you can kind of see from there, but you can see the rough shape. But you can see where I've trimmed it as well, it's left little lines on it. So I'll pop it back onto the wheel, get my wooden tool and just hold it against the side as it's spinning around, and that'll kind of smooth it off for us. So hold it against the side, let it go around a few goes, and that should start to smooth it off for you. Yet keep that nice shape as well. And I'm holding it on an angle so it doesn't actually rip into the top bit there. You can use the outside shape if you want to as well. There's a little persistent line that won't go. So that's smoothed off a load more. And use that tool. So I don't know whether you can see or not, but it's really smooth now. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of shape on the foot, on the base there. Just trim some of that away. And use your finger to smooth it off. Same with the bottom. I'm especially going to use this on the bottom of the pot because this clay is quite groggy, and I don't want it scratching tables and things, so we'll get that nicely smoothed off. I'm going to have one more check of it just to see what it's like, see what the shape's like. Just make sure you haven't got, we'll call these little bits, little snotty bits, I don't know if you can see it or not. Make sure none of those are on your pot, because it'll end up being really messy. So yeah, I think I'm quite happy with the shape of that one. So I don't know if you can see the bottom's pretty smooth, sides are alright. So yeah, quite happy with that one.